Hello boys and girls, Andy Rafael from eTechnics.com, and today we're going to be looking at a case. So we haven't actually done a video case review in quite some time. I think one of the last ones we actually did was probably the Thermaltake Level 10, which by no mean feat is a great case, and we sort of stopped doing it after that. No real reason. I mean, the main reason was I wasn't doing case reviews anymore, someone else was taking care of it. But now, thankfully, after a few changes at eTechnics and on our YouTube channel, I'll be doing video reviews for quite a few things now, and the main one is going to be cases, because I think that in a case, in a video review, you can show off a lot of features of a case compared to a normal product. Obviously, it's great looking at a motherboard and how many different PCI Express lanes it's got, what CPU support it's got, and having a general look around the board. We're still going to do things like that, but with a case there's so many different factors. Has it got a window? Has it got a solid panel? Has it got coloured fans, as you can see on the one behind me has? Has it got room for water cooling? What sort of size motherboards can you fit in there? And there's so much more. So that's why I've taken it upon myself to really start doing case reviews again. And we're actually going to start off today with this lovely looking thing behind us, which is the Cooler Master 692 Advanced black and white. So we've already looked at the 692 Advanced before, and we thought that it was a really good case, and for a mid-tower size case, it really gave you a lot of room for expansion, as well as hard drives, optical devices, and overall just looked like a really nice looking case. But what Cooler Master have now done is sort of changed it up a little bit. They've added the main part of the chassis being white, and then still with quite a lot of it, mainly this mesh grille on the front. The top of it's black as well, the back of it is also black, and then we've also got the inside of it is black as well. So it's a nice contrast. I've always been a fan of white cases, but I will tell you now, I'm sick of photographing white cases, because we had such a headache today trying to take pictures of a white case on a white background. It just doesn't work at all. So had to go out and invest in a black backdrop. So if you go over to eTechnics.com, if you're watching this on our YouTube channel, and check out the full review, which we will have in the description below, then you'll basically see that we've been using a black backdrop instead of a white backdrop. So but yeah, hopefully they turned out really well. But we wanted to do the video as well, just to give you a further sort of insight look. So with the Cooler Master 692 Advanced, it is a case that has sort of stemmed off of other Cooler Master cases. So with the original 690, so this is basically something that, in my opinion, is a tried and tested method. They've improved a few things, added some extra functionality, and what we're actually going to do now is just really give you a look around the case so you can see exactly what it's about. We've already built it up. As you can see, it's running, it's got this lovely white fan in the front, but we'll delve into some more detail and you can see exactly what you think of it. But I will first pre-warn you that some parts of this case aren't what you'd expect in the retail version. So you may be able to see it from here, but this panel up here behind the black mesh is actually white. In the retail version it won't be. We was told by Cooler Master that only the first couple of sort of samples have got this, as well as white around here as well. But that kind of works for me, because I've got a few plans with this in terms of water cooling, adding a radiator in there and some white fluid. So it's actually helped me out, and I'm going to see what I can do with this in the next coming sort of weeks, maybe a month or so, and possibly take this to some shows. Undecided as of yet, but I have got a lot of ideas. So firstly, I want to say that I'm a big fan of white cases, and this one really appeals to me because it's got that nice contrasting colour. So what we're going to do is take the side off and everything. We'll have a look at the exterior, the interior, and you can see exactly how our components fitted in, and what sort of cable management this case has got, and we'll also talk about some of the other options that you've got with this case. So stay tuned, and we'll take you off the tripod and everything and have a little look around the case. So boys and girls, obviously we've seen what the general case looks like. If you're not familiar with the 692 Advanced, we did do a review on it quite some time ago, but this is the refresh model, black and white. So as we showed you, it has got a lot of white on it and a sort of dash of black. When I say a dash, I actually mean pretty much the whole centre of it is black, and the internals are black as well, which adds to a really nice sort of contrast between the black and white. One thing I do need to tell you is on our one it is an evaluation sample, a review sample, and that's why it has white underneath here. Now when this actually goes fully into the retail channels, this will be black underneath it, but yeah, it probably would look better in black, but I've got a few ideas for this case, so I may keep this white, or I may spray it black. I'm not too sure yet. So if you're not familiar with the 690-2 Advanced, then I'm just going to tell you really about some of the features as if I've never even looked at this case before, because it is the same as the ones that we've looked at in the past with the black one, but obviously different colour scheme. So we've got our reset button, power button, we've got two USB 2.0 ports, microphone and headphone jack, two USB 3.0 ports, and also a little fan button as well, which I'll show you exactly how that works in a minute. Another thing that you may not know that this case has got is this little panel up here, which simply slides out and then has a docking station sort of connector in there. And what it is you can get a 2.5-inch hard drive or an SSD, simply slide it in and dock it into place. And obviously if you've got AHCI mode enabled, this is going to add extra functionality for hot swapping and that kind of thing, because one of your friends may come over and he may not have an SSD on hand. He might have a 3.5-inch mechanical hard drive, I don't know, 3 terabytes, something like that, with all of his fully owned legal DVDs and videos, and may want to say, you know, do you want to see some of the latest films and that? I've got them available, why don't you see what I've got? Dock that into place, and then you can copy directly off of his hard drive directly onto yours. It will be inside your machine. So really nice functionality there with that. What we'll do next is we'll have a look at the front of the case, but like I said, I will warn you, because there is another panel on this case which should be black underneath but is white underneath, just like this little bit. So let's move the tripod down and we'll have a look at the front of the case. So looking at the front of the case, we've just really come down from the top where this white panel is that should be black. We've got a optical drive bay here, and then we've got another 3, if I just tilt this down ever so slightly, another 3 mesh panels. Now what I'm actually going to show you, if I take this off, which is always a fun task to do, but I've got to admit, with Cooler Master, this is a damn sight easier than some of the other cases that we've had on the market before. So some of the mesh panels that you can see here, they have got a sort of protective film. Now I've normally preferred sort of a foam based dust filter. This is just a very thin sort of a bit like nylon, but it works, it does what it's supposed to. And to actually get these out, it's got these very easy to use clips that you just go like that, that pulls out, and you do the same on the other side as well, and they clip back in very easily. There's a dust filter on here as well, which is integrated in, and you can actually see this is the panel that I was telling you about that should be black. Not so much this side, but this side, so you can see that it's completely white. Now this will be black on the retail versions, and what this actually covers over is this lovely, what looks like blue on the camcorder, but it is actually white. White fan. Now that button on the top that I was telling you about will simply turn it on and off, so it's entirely up to you. If you're a user who's got their computer in you know, a bedroom, you may not want that staring at you all night long, and that is a 120mm fan there as well, but you may not want that staring at you all night long, so they do give you the extra added functionality to turn that off. Now that we've actually got the front panel back on, you can see there's also a Cooler Master logo here, and it does shine through the ventilated panel really nice. Now moving down a little bit more, you can see there's also a white lip down here, and you can see some of these sort of styling bits on each side. So what we're actually doing now is move the case around a little bit and show you the back of it, because the back is also black, and show you exactly what functionality you've got from there, and then we'll get this thing opened up and have a look inside. So guys, we turn the case around, now we're looking at the back. Now first thing I want to talk to you about is actually the top, because inside it does come included with a 120mm fan, which I can feel nicely cooling my hand as an exhaust fan. Now there is one on the back as well, but we have swapped it out for an Antec fan, because we've got the Antec Cooler 920 in there on top of our 2500K, I believe is actually in there. But yeah, with the top you can actually exchange this fan out and put in a 120 by 240mm radiator. There's lots of kits on the market, XSPC, you've also got Phobia, among other big brands. One of the best websites to find information on this is specialtech.co.uk. And there's also Aquatuning as well, so lots of different companies in the UK who deal with it. In the US, I believe there's Frozen PC and people like that. But yeah, there's plenty of sites out there where you can find out exactly what radiators are going to fit your system. But for this, 120 by 240mm right in the top. So yeah, moving on to the back, you can see that we have a USB 3.0 native header actually sticking out. Now there's a very, very good reason for this. Cooler Master, for some odd reason, I don't know whether it's because this is just a review sample, hopefully that is the reason, but they don't actually give you a USB 3 to USB 2 adapter, which is a bit of a shame because the board that we use, the Asus P8Z68 VLX, doesn't come with a USB 3 native header on the board. So we are forced to pass it through one of these grommets and then we'd put an adapter on there and plug it into the USB 3.0 header. We haven't fitted one here because it would be wrong, because Cooler Master haven't supplied us with one. So naughty Cooler Master, you should have supplied us with one, and hopefully the retail versions will get that included for users who have possibly got older motherboards. So other than that, yeah, there's two grommets on here and they can be used for external water cooling or even passing through a cable, much like this. So yeah, very, very good functionality there. We've got a exhaust fan here, ready for just a normal exhaust fan if you are using a air cooler, but if you are using water cooling, prime location for it. And then as we move down, we can see the 7 expansion bays, which we've got a graphics card taken up to, and then we've got the rest, which are black, not ventilated, which is a bit of a shame. Obviously that would add extra airflow, but there is a few sort of ventilation ports sort of here, there and everywhere, so no real biggie. As we move down, we can see that we've got our Corsair HX 1050 watt sitting down the bottom, which really complements the case because it is black as well. But there is one gripe I have with the back of the case: the thumb screws. We've got a lovely white case with lovely black bits all the way through the middle, and they give us silver thumb screws. Now, once again, I can only assume that this is because this is an early revision review sample, but if it's not, what the hell were you thinking, Cooler Master? You've just ruined something that was so simple. Make these black. It'll make everything just look spot on. So yeah, make these black, the thumb screws, and you'll be well on your way. Other than that, that's pretty much it for sort of the back of it. What we're going to do now is we are going to take the sides off, have a look inside, show you what sort of cable management facilities there are, and show you where else that you may be able to sort of get extra functionality and modification from the 690 to Advanced Black and White Edition. So everyone, what we're going to do now is we're going to have a look inside the Cooler Master 690 to Advanced Black and White. But first I want to sort of talk about the quality of the actual case. Now, the actual side of the case, just from a first glance, is absolutely really, really great quality. You may be able to see in the light in that sort of, you know, a tiny little bit of ripple, but there's not much. Now, I'm just going to unscrew these very, very horrid silver thumb screws when they should be black, and then we can give you a first look as to what things look like inside. Now, when we build up our chassis, we do use water cooling because we do feel that a lot of people are going to be using water cooling these days compared to traditional air cooling. So we've done that, and we've used the Z68 platform, 4 sticks of memory, an SSD as well as a 3.5-inch mechanical drive, and a fairly decent current power supply as well. So the sides come off fairly easy, and they are made out of steel, and you can tell there's not a mass amount of sort of ripple or anything in it. They are of good quality. Both sides are you know, quite nicely finished off with powder coating. Not quite sure if you can see any sort of ripple or anything like that in it. It's very, very hard to see on the camera, but overall it's a very, very good job on quality from Cooler Master. So putting that down, we can have a look at exactly what we've got included inside. So straight away you can see that things are nice and tidy inside, but from the viewing angle that you've got right now, you probably can't see as much in detail as I'd like you to see. So what we're actually going to do is bring you a little bit closer in, and we can show you what the cable tidying is like, what components we've got installed in here, and hopefully that will give you a little bit of a guidance on what this case is like inside, for obviously airflow and things like that. But before I do that, we did mention that you can fit a radiator into the top of this case, so 120mm high by 240mm in length. You can also fit another one just down the bottom. Now you can do this by achieving very simply of taking out the bottom couple of rows of hard drive cages. Now this whole row from here, so there are 6 in total. At the moment we're currently only using the top 2, one for an SSD which comes with a supplied bracket adapter, and then the next one down, which is a mechanical drive, 3.5 inch, but after that the next bit is actually split into another cage. So the next 4 drive bays can actually be taken out, and you can fit a radiator down here. So once again, a 240mm should fit there, absolutely no problems whatsoever. And it does give you a little bit of extra room in this sort of area, so you can fit you know, some of the tubing, the reservoir and that kind of thing, you know, the pump. So there's quite a lot of flexibility with this case in terms of cooling. As you can see, we've gone for an all-in-one solution on the processor with the Antec Cooler 920. But if we did want to go, you know, GPU cooling or a little bit more extreme on the CPU, then we would be looking at fitting probably a radiator in the top and having that cool our CPU, and then one in the bottom for cooling our GPU. But for now, it's quite a nice little setup that we've got going. So what we do is bring the tripod in a little bit closer so you can see exactly what's going on inside this case, and see really if it's the right case for you if you are in the market for buying a new case. So let's have a look a little bit closer at the Cooler Master 692 Advanced Black and White Edition. So boys and girls, looking inside we can see that everything, in my opinion, looks very tidy. So what we've actually got here is the Asus P8Z68 VLX motherboard. It's a budget motherboard. We use it in all our case reviews because it conforms to ATX standards and has you know, a nice variety of connectors. You've got enough SATA ports on there to cater for most people, enough expansion slots of different varieties with PCI Express X1, X16, and then general legacy PCI slots that we can see down here. It's also got 4 slots of memory which we have catered for with Kingston 2133 HyperX memory. You can see that we have also got an optical drive bay in up here, and then as we spoke about, the SSD and the mechanical hard drive. Now I just want to talk about the sort of airflow more than anything. Yes, we have got this wonderful Antec Cooler 920 water cooling system in there, but you could quite easily accommodate larger air-cooled CPU coolers like the DH14, the Phanteks CPU cooler, CH14, C14 even. So there's obviously a lot of scope for extreme air cooling still. A lot of people haven't moved over to the all-in-one water-cooled solutions, or obviously going a custom loop. So you will find that you have got a lot of room from where the actual motherboard tray is to the side of the case. So you will be able to fit some of the biggest, largest, you know, badass coolers on the market. Other than that, you can see by us having the water cooling unit, we did have a fan here to start with. We have added the Antec cooler on there, which has got obviously 2 fans in a push-pull configuration, and then the water cooling pump radiator in the middle, sandwiched between. And even then, it doesn't take up mass amounts of room in this case. There's still a lot of airflow over here, which is obviously catered for by the fan, which is down at the front, pushing air in, and obviously heat rising, coming up to here, pushing out, and then pulling out. So no problem with airflow in this case whatsoever. We've got 16950 in here from Asus, and even then we can see that the airflow around the 6950 is absolutely fine. Checking temperatures and things like that, we've got no problem at all, even with the side panel on this case. So moving just over to the optical drive bays, you can see that we've got a sort of lock and unlock mechanism, which easily supports our DVD rewriter up there. SATA cables coming through, power and data through a grommet just up here, which I know the lighting's not the best, but you can see there's a grommet up here, another one up here which has got the ATX 24 pin and the two PCI Express adapters coming through. And if I just pan down a little bit, you can see that there's some more grommets. We've got one just here, which we're not actually really utilising at the moment because of this motherboard and the way that it's orientated. It makes more sense to use this other grommet, which is just down here, for all of the front panel headers and the SATA and USB connectors, and then obviously the PCI Express ATX 24 pin up there, and then for our DVD rewriter on the top one. But one thing I do have to mention about these grommets is they're not the greatest, because as soon as you start poking things through, like the 24 pin ATX power connector, you will notice that these grommets actually sort of come out of place, and it's quite difficult actually getting them back on because they've got a very small lip to go around the actual metal of the motherboard tray. So I will warn you on that, but overall it does add to a nice effect having these black grommets on the black motherboard tray, and it does obviously keep things nice and tidy as well. Now, as we spoke about, you can fit a radiator in. If I zoom down and have a look at the bottom, so you can fit a radiator down here, and it's just a matter of taking these 4 bays out. Now, you may be able to see it, but if I move this one ever so slightly, you can see where the cage starts and this cage actually ends. So this whole panel here will completely come out, and we can see that the screw points are on the other side, which we will show you in a minute. We'll show you what our cable tidying attempts are like on the other side of this case. But you can see there's screws, one here, and that will just allow this whole cage to come out, and you can put your radiator down the bottom. So great extra functionality there that Cooler Master have tried to cater for. And overall, we're really pleased with the way that this case went in terms of cable management. And we can only see, you know, even better things if people use this case and start doing some braiding and things like that, and possibly even use a fully modular power supply, because this one is only part modular. We've got the SATA and Molex plugged in, but we are utilising the majority of the connectors that come hardwired with this, with a 24 pin, and we've also got the 2 PCI Express. And then if I just move up here, you can't see it, but behind the Cooler 920 is the 8-pin eATX power connector as well. So we are utilising most of the power connectors from the HX1050, but if you want to go that little bit further, then obviously you can get a fully modular power supply and just use exactly what you need. So we're just going to flip the case around, and we will have a look at our cable tidying attempts, because generally when you've got a nice neat tidy case this side, it's normally a mess on the other side. But we have tried our best to try and keep things nice and tidy. So we'll turn the case around and we can have a look at that next. So guys, the case is now flipped around, and we can see exactly what's been done in terms of cable tidying. Obviously it's always quite difficult with any case due to some of the thick wires like the ATX 24 pin, but we have managed to do quite a good job here, and that's really down to the case as well as some crafty use of cable ties as well. Now the case has got quite a lot of room between the motherboard tray and the actual side panel. So as you can see, the eATX power connector we've managed to sort of tuck away just into the groove over there, and the rest of them we just sort of cable tied onto these support bits at the back of the motherboard tray. SATA power wires and data wires, you can see that the power wires we are actually utilising most of the connectors, so they've just sort of been left to roam free, but they are still cable tied. And then the data connectors are all cable tied as well, and the unused Molexes, which really we're only using Molexes for the front and the top fans, which use Molex, which is one of my worst connectors in the world because I can't stand them when they break. Corsair H80, need I say more. Other than that, you can see things do look very tidy, and we have managed to sort of hide a few of the cables up here as well, mainly with the fan connectors and things like that. So that is a view of this side of the 692 Advanced Black and White. So boys and girls, firstly, one thing you may have noticed is that I'm wearing a completely different t-shirt to the rest of the video, and that's all because we filmed it all yesterday, and for some reason I completely forgot to actually sum everything up. So here I am today, completely different day, summing everything up. So obviously we've had a look at the 692 Advanced Black and White Edition, as you can see behind us, and I really just wanted to talk through, now that we've actually taken a full look at everything, what my personal feelings are on it. Now, I was always a fan of the 692 Advanced. I thought that it was a great case, it was a tried and tested method, and Cooler Master did sort of jazz things up, obviously releasing a black edition and then a white edition, and now having this sort of collaboration between the two with a black and white edition. Everything really sort of works together in terms of styling. Obviously with the white sides, there would be a white side panel on here as well, and then we've got the black on the front, top and on the back as well as the whole interior being black. Everything just works together, and it does seem like Cooler Master have actually listened to what the end user wanted. There is quite a big push at the moment in terms of modding, water cooling, especially in the United Kingdom. Unsure what it's like in the rest of the world, but in the United Kingdom, a lot of people are sort of delving into the modding world, water cooling, especially with companies like Mayhems and people like that offering custom colour solutions. So you could quite easily fit radiators into this case and have your sort of white tubes, white pastel liquids and things like that sort of, you know, flowing throughout, and it would look really, really nice and would be a perfect addition to any you know, system that could go into this case. Talking about some of the functionality, I've got to admit that the locking mechanism on the optical drive bays is one of the easiest I've ever used. It's literally just an open and then lock scenario, so nice and easy with that. With regards to the storage drive bays, obviously we've got the SSD adapter, 2.5 inch adapter on the top bay, which is nice, but it does involve some 4 screws to actually mount it into place. Would be better if there was some sort of toolless operation. And then with the other ones which require the use of these sort of special pins, it can be a little bit tricky for some people because it does actually involve you sort of bending things ever so slightly and then snapping it into place. Now, for users who aren't obviously used to this type of mechanism, it may be a little bit daunting, and they may have the fear that they're going to sort of bend it a bit too far and the whole thing's going to snap. So if you've actually read our written review of this, you will notice that we referred to it as the bend and snap mechanism, because you are literally bending it, putting the drive in and then snapping these little sort of mounting points into place, not actually snapping the whole thing. But obviously there is fear of that for people who have never used this type of mechanism before. Now, other than that, I'm pretty pleased with obviously the way that this works and the way that everything locks into place. Taking a look at where the power supply location was, obviously we have noticed that there is a lot more room for larger power supplies, so the Tough Power series from Thermaltake, Antec Quattro, or even some of the ones from Cooler Master themselves that are quite large, you would be able to fit them in. But you would have a few restrictions in terms of having a large power supply in here and getting rid of the bottom half of this cage and having a water cooling unit. Obviously at the moment you could fit a 240mm rad down the bottom as well as one at the top, but if you had a larger power supply then you would be restricted on going to a smaller rad like a 120. But obviously it's all choices that you can make when you're actually building your system and exactly what you need. If you have got multiple graphics cards and you're going to need that extra juice, then you may have to compensate with a larger power supply in terms of obviously the dimensions of the power supply, and that's going to restrict you in what you can actually do in terms of fitting radiators and things like that in. Graphics cards, we did actually make this clear in our written review, so we thought that we'd tell you now. This case will accept up to 11.96 inch graphics cards, which should cater for most of the market. We've got a 6950 in here at the moment, DirectCU2 from Asus, and we still got, you know, a little bit of room to play with, so no real problem with some of the latest graphics cards and more powerful graphics cards on the market. We also had you know, lots of clearance room with the Antec Cooler 920 in here, lots of room for ventilation, which is obviously being helped through the use of the 140mm fan. I think earlier on in the review I did say it was a 120, but it is a 140mm white LED fan, which can be turned off through the click of a button, and that's obviously helping with heat to the storage devices, and then moving up towards here where it's exhausted with our push-pull system from the Antec Cooler 920. So that's pretty much a summary of everything. Price-wise, you're going to be looking at around sort of £89–90. Scan.co.uk are the only people that we know who are retailing with it at the moment, and if you are in America and other places, we're not actually too sure whether this is going to be available straight away or whether it's going to be something that comes along at a later date. So what I'd say is check with your local retailer or e-tailer to see if they are going to be stocking this case and when they're going to be stocking it. But in the UK it is available in stock at Scan Computers at the moment, £89, which in my opinion is good value. It does offer a lot of functionality and also extra functionality that you may not have known about, such as adding a radiator to the top or one to the bottom, taking out these drive cages, the ability that you can have extra power supplies, larger power supplies, lots of grommets on there for your cable management. It will also accept slightly larger motherboards. We're using an ATX, but you will be able to fit a slightly wider motherboard in there as well. So loads of sort of flexibility for that as well. And if you don't use optical drive bays, that's going to be even more handy when it comes to modification, because you can fit some of your tubing and things like that in the optical drive bays. So that's pretty much it really. I'm really happy with this case, and the thing that I probably like the most is the dock connector on the top, because it is hot swappable, permitting that you're using AHCI mode on your motherboard's BIOS, and then you can just easily put a hard drive in, take a hard drive out. If you've got friends and you want to share any sort of files and content and things like that you've got, then you can quite easily just install the drive in, take what files and everything you need, transfer over, and job done. You have also got USB 3.0 on the top. It would have been nice to see the other two connectors having USB 3.0 instead of the older 2.0 technology, but at least there are 2 ports. There is one gripe though, obviously, with the cable. We've had to poke it out the back, and we would obviously connect an adapter so that it would loop back round to the USB 3.0 ports, because our particular motherboard, the P8Z68 VLX, hasn't got a USB 3.0 native header on it. And Cooler Master for some reason don't give you the adapter, so obviously you'd have to use your own or buy one separate if you haven't got one already. But hopefully in the retail versions, because as we explained this is a pre-release version, hence the little white bits on the front there and there, but hopefully in the retail versions they may address that problem and bundle in just that little adapter, and hopefully they change the thumb screws from silver to black just to give it that little extra sort of design flair, because at the moment it's been let down ever so slightly by that. But I'm sure if you are an enthusiast or a modder or someone like that and you're going to be buying this case, I'm pretty sure that you're going to have some black thumb screws laying around, or even just normal screws if you're not going to take the side panels off that much. Speaking of the side panels, it would be nice if Cooler Master did start making a window version for this. They have done a window on some of the other 692 advanced cases. I think it's the Dominator that they've got a side window for. But on this particular version, the black and white edition, there's no window or cutout versions, although on the box it does sort of specify otherwise, because on the box it's got a picture of the side panel with 2 fan grills just here. But sadly our one hasn't got anything like that. So it would be nice to get a window, because I think if you added a little bit more colour into here, and if you did have water cooling, like the idea we had to match the white fan at the front and the white colour scheme, it would be a shame that you couldn't show it off. So that's pretty much it for this video review of the Cooler Master 690 2 Advanced Black and White Edition. Be sure to check out eTechnics.com, where we have got the full review on this, and we will link it in the description below. And we hope to see you next time, where we'll have another review for you, maybe a case, maybe something else, but we'll have a lot more content coming to you very, very shortly. And be sure to check out eTechnics.com probably next week if you're watching this as we release it, because we will be at CeBIT and we'll be getting lots of coverage of Cooler Master for one, as well as some other manufacturers and exactly what they're doing. So until next time, boys and girls, I'm Andy Rafael from eTechnics.com. See you later.